We are moving towards a cashless society, but who benefits, us or the authoritative systems that seek to control us?
Let's bring you this now. Cash and transit heists have been in the spotlight for a number of weeks now. On top of that, robberies and ATM bombings have become prevalent. Gauteng Premier Panyazali Sufi says there is just too much money circulating in, of course, its effort to combat crime. The province is now considering, though, going cashless. So tomorrow it's holding a cashless indaba with all the stakeholders, and the Premier joins me now to have this conversation. Premier,
on that, you might be aware that as a country we've been grey listed. We've been accused by the international community that we can't control our cash management system, that there are funds that are circulating that ended up in the wrong hands. I think that's the first part. Criminals are doing everything to hunt cash. So if you remove cash, we might be convinced that the cash in transit will be minimal. If you remove cash, we might be convinced that the ATM bombings will be minimal. If you remove cash, we might be convinced that those that are conducting business robberies, either are taking petrol station businesses, it will be minimal. And it was within that context that we've been on the road show to engage with various stakeholders, the companies that are distributing money, the banks, the retail industry, the liquor industry. We've been consulting them. So tomorrow is a culmination of all these consultations so that we can then develop a roadmap. Yeah. We want to argue as Gauteng that we want to be the first province to go cashless from the 1st of April next year, but we want to argue that the entire province must go cashless from the 1st of January 2026 so that we've got 2 years to plan and strategize. And the session tomorrow will build those building blocks towards Agenda 2026.
They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
With the cashless society, the social credit system will come for everyone.
And if you notice, my country was the first where they made cash illegal. 2016, digitalization was forced in the country. 8 o'clock in the evening announced midnight, cash was illegal, the big notes. And 70% of the economy crashed. This digitalization is now going all over the world, and there's a war on cash. They call it war on cash. Because cash is merely a medium of exchange. It has no value in itself. It's just a promise. You read the dollar note, it says, I promise to pay the bearer. When it's digital, even a credit card, you're giving rents to the global financial system. But when it's cryptocurrency in the hands of algorithms, in the hands of big tech, they will do what is happening in China. Create social credit system to decide a new caste system. And you might have also followed that while all this has been happening, the founder of the World Economic Forum did a book called The Great Reset on how to deal with the COVID crisis. And everything we're seeing unfold is part of that Great Reset. But an element of that Great Reset is you will own nothing. Now, I'm a believer in the commons, and it would be so good if all land was a commons, if all seed was a commons, if food was a commons, if health was a commons, so that we had strong public health systems, strong community health system, deep knowledge about being health. But when Paul Schwab says, you will own nothing, he's saying we'll own it all. That's why you have Gates, not just owning the seed, wanting to own our food. One, of course, controls the health, and now owning land. This, if ever there was a time for humanity to wake up, now is the time.
I guess there's a lot of work that needs to happen in terms of educating and informing senior Australians in terms of being able to operate with, using their smartphones and these apps. And there's even risks around that. I mean, the organisation you're talking about that's sort of making this change, they had an outage on their app which basically lasted a day.
Presumably what's being described there is a legitimate outage that happened for technical reasons. But the simple fact is that during that 24 hours, no one had access to currency. So in a society where there is no cash, there is no alternative, you could suddenly find yourself with no access to cash, no ability to alternatively transact or trade, and potentially these outages could happen at will, at whim, to individuals or whole sectors of society. Don't you increasingly get the sense these days that ideas are piloted? What happens if you tell everybody just to stay in their homes? What happens to everybody if you just deny them access to cash? If you live in a society where crisis, scarcity and denial are advantageous to systems of authority and systems of power, financial systems of power, governmental systems of power, you could find that increasingly crises are used to manage a population. All centralized systems of authority are open, yes, to flaws and inadvertent accidents and outages, but also they're open to manipulation. They can easily become tools of social control. As this example,
the most important person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs.